Hello, thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure to be back in Dublin once again. I always love to be here and to engage with the students. As Archie said, I work with athletes in the state of Qatar, also in other countries. I have some athletes scattered around the world right now, and some of them are preparing for the World Championships in London in a couple of weeks' time. I'm also traveling all the time, traveling a lot, and I was planning to be this week closer to Ireland so that I could be here today. So I'm really happy that Archie and Rona are inviting me again this year. I would like to tell you a lot of things. I would like to explain to you a lot of things that we are learning from sport psychology or performance psychology, and things that are now very similar to what research is beginning to tell us that is going on with musicians or with pianists as well. And a lot of the things seem to be very, very similar to what happens in the sports domain. As a matter of fact, when I came here in 2013 for the first time, and I saw these wonderful people practicing, rehearsing piano, first thing that came to my mind was, well, these people are not just musicians, and they're not athletes, they are super athletes, because what you do is incredible, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, okay? So what I would like to explain is, what is it that we do in performance psychology? Because it always sometimes gets a little bit blurry and people don't really know what we do. And I think it's our fault because we don't know how to explain it very well. What can performance psychology do for musicians, in particular for piano players? And what are the things that we're learning that world-class performers in music, in piano, as in sport, do to make them excel from a psychological point of view? So my goal here today is that you learn one thing. If you learn one thing, even though it's a small thing, then I'm happy. Job done. Okay? So feel free to put your hand up anytime, ask any question, or wait until the end and then we can have a nice chat. Okay? So, peak performance in music. What have we learned from sports psychology? As I said, I've been working over now 20 years with elite athletes, some of them from Formula 1, many others Olympic athletes, medalists in World Championships and Olympic Games, and from different countries, which is a pleasure. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about this. I can talk for hours. So when you get tired, you tell me, please stop. We've had enough. When you see these athletes, these are elite athletes, but actually in Qatar, I am based in an elite sports academy. It looks like this. It's in Doha, and it's a center where we develop young talent. So people very much like some of you here, the students, you're developing, okay? So this is what we do. And we work with people from all over the world in different areas that go from nutrition to physiology, strength and conditioning, sports psychology, and all of that. So it's a really nice environment to learn from each other. And we already have some good talent coming out. This boy is world champion, junior, 18 years of age, world champion in the discus throw. And this is the point, to develop champions, okay? So you may be wondering, okay, but I play the piano. I am a musician, so I don't throw the discus. What's this? You know, I don't play football. Oh, yeah, right, fine. But more and more recently, experts in the field of sports performance and music performance are telling us these kind of things. Performing in music is one of the most complex human performance tasks, incorporating complex cognitive and sensory motor skills. If I delete music and I put, I don't know, football or gymnastics, it's the same definition, okay? So there are many similarities and some differences that I will talk about. So also in music, in pianists, they're telling us that, for example, when performing at their best peak performance, they report, pianists, they report high confidence, no fear of failure, they're in control of their emotions, thoughts and arousal, they're highly energized and mentally relaxed. And this is from 2014. But actually, in the Olympics in 1976 in Montreal, some researchers from North America, they already came up with Olympic level athletes with a similar sort of like definition, and some of the characteristics were found back then in Montreal 1976. So this is why it is important to learn and to take what we've been learning for many decades now from sport psychology and begin to apply it to other performance environments. Why? Because the field of sport psychology is simply more developed. Okay? And I always give an example from sport psychology. We've also taken things from other areas in psychology, like work or organizational psychology. For example, everything to do with goal setting, we took it from work psychology. All right? So we learn from each other. So what I would like to explain is, let's say, 3 main lessons learned, three things that we have learned that can be applicable in music and in pianists. First of all, what is sport performance psychology? Because after many years reading, studying, researching and working with performers, I have learned something that I want to share with you. What can performance psychology do for you? Because this is the question sometimes. Okay, yes, but what do you actually do? All right? And key psychological characteristics to develop excellence in music. And this is very important because we always want to know, what is that guy doing that I'm not doing, apart from improving my skills on the keyboard? Okay? There may be other factors. So these are the 3 lessons that I will talk about. Okay? Everyone following me so far? Yes? So, sport performance psychology, you don't need to read the Wikipedia definition, but I just gave it as an example. There are so many definitions of sport psychology, and they're so long, and they combine so many things that I'm a little bit bored already, you know. I think I have learned that there is only this, what we do can be defined in one single word, because at the end of the day, it is just one thing. And I think it is a process. Everything we do, day by day, week by week, month, yearly, 1 year after another, is just a process. We can define it the way we want, but we need to understand it is a process, and it's going to take a long time. Okay? So this is what you will not find in a sports psychology book or anything, but I tell you, this is my opinion. Okay? So a process is complicated. It's complicated. You know, athletes, they plan their training in terms of Olympic cycles, and this is 4 years. So what they're working on today is for the Olympics, the next Olympic Games. I mean, and this is what 1 year looks like in just strength and conditioning. So every week is planned, every session, every month. Everything is connected with everything else. Absolutely. It's a science. This is my program in sports psychology. This is what it looks like in 1 year. And I can tell you, sometimes 80% of that doesn't work. So I need to change it. I need to adapt. I need to review. I need to modify for the following year. But I just put it there to show you an example of what process really means. It is complicated. And we know that developing excellence or expertise in sport takes around 10 years. In music, it may take 20 years. So you're not only super athletes, but you're going to have to be very patient. Okay? So it's difficult. So one thing for sure, performance psychology is a miracle. I have learned for sure that I have a lot of limitations, and I have learned that there is a lot more that I don't know than what I know. So I don't believe, at least I haven't found the magic wand. There is not one single way or one. If you ever hear, in my opinion, someone telling you, oh, don't worry, we're going to do this, everything is in the mind, you don't worry, I don't believe. It is very, very complicated. It is very, very difficult. You have to have some talent. You have to have an amazing teacher, and you have to be lucky. And there are so many factors. At least this is what I have learned. So no gurus, no nothing. Just really read the theory, learn research, read, practice, try to improve. Is the only way. And also nowadays, in particular in sport science is very big, it's very important, and softwares and hardwares and a lot of things coming up, and brain measuring. I think this is important, and this can help. Okay, but the question is, what is the purpose? Why do I use a software to help me to do what? Do I need it? What is the purpose? So this is the question that sometimes we need to ask ourselves. And I believe the most important thing ultimately is the human factor. Why? Because everything that has to do with the information processing and artificial intelligence and all of this, and the part of psychology that deals with this is cognitive psychology. And we know simply that yes, machines can be very clever, but they will never have consciousness. That's human. And consciousness is what helps us to understand the context and the situation. Okay? And unless you have great consciousness, for example, as a teacher, as a pianist, it's going to be very hard to improve just by thinking very rationally all the time and nothing. You need to understand a lot of things in order to improve. So technology, yes, is important, but the human factor is important. I always say to athletes, get the best coach you can get, because it's the person that's going to get you further. Okay? So this is about the concept. This is a little bit about, is it clear? It's a process. Performance psychology, what do we do? It's a process, nothing else. Magic wands, magic solutions, I haven't found it. If you find it, let me know, and I will try and learn. What can performance psychology do for you? And this is another very key question, okay? Because many people, many practitioners, they will say everything's in the mind, you know, piano, memory, hearing, feeling, you know, everything's in the mind, it's 100%. This is exactly what you need to focus on, you know, learn. This is what some people will say. And this will give you 100%. If you work with a performance psychologist, you will improve 100%, no doubt. Some people will say that, they will claim that. Other people will be a little bit more careful. And they will say, no, you know, because ultimately you're playing with the body, with your hands, with your feet, so this is physical, you know. Then maybe 50% of it is with the body, then 50% is the mind, this and that. And now I will tell you what I have learned, what I believe, okay? What I believe. And I will give it an example with Filip Mihajlovic. He's the NCAA champion in shot put, and he's from Croatia, but he's in Virginia University, and he was telling me a year ago, he said, Jaime, what can performance psychology give me so that I can improve? And I said, it's very simple. I can give you 100%. And he was very happy. He said, 100%. If I throw 20 meters with the shot, 1%, 1% is 20 centimeters. That can be the difference between the silver and the gold, or the fourth position and the bronze medal. And this is it. This is it. I'm going to try to explain it. Because I strongly believe this is the key of what we can deliver. In high performance, whether it is playing the piano or cycling, there is a moment where everybody is quite equal at the same level of skill, very similar, okay? If you go to an audition or a contest, or sometimes there are 5 guys that are quite similar, yes? This picture, it depicts perfectly what I'm talking about. And to me, the concept of performance psychology, what we can learn, the skills, the strategies that we can learn, is almost similar to a level, yes? Is that how you call this? A level? That tells you know you put it when you're fixing, when you put something at home, you're doing something and you put it on top so you can measure. Level. Thank you, that's how you pronounce it. I wasn't sure, thank you. Level. So, things, when you're skilled and trained as you are, things can go right or wrong, and there is a delicate balance. When you're performing on stage, it can go right or it can go wrong, and it just takes just missing one key or something, just small, something that you're like, I screwed up. So I believe the mental training can provide you with some strategies that can help to facilitate so that the level goes down to the positive side rather than the negative. This is what I believe, and this is the 1% I'm talking about. It's not about a huge difference, but it's the qualitative difference at the most difficult moment, which is the performance. And this, I believe, at this 1% can help at the most critical point in the performance. And that makes the difference. That makes the difference. And for me, this compares to a world-class, did I pronounce it well? Because yesterday somebody, world-class teacher who is listening to you, and you can play for 1 hour, and he or she may just give you 1 or 2 tips. But those 1 or 2 tips to be able to deliver the message, that high-quality message, maybe no other teacher can do that. And this is the difference. Same like coaches. World-class coaches are the ones who are able to say, just move 1/2 foot back, and then we'll have a world record, and they make it happen. But for him to be able to do that, to say that, the knowledge and the experience and the talent must be extraordinary. So this is what I believe performance psychology can do. Okay? So if you remember the 1%, but that 1% can change things for the better. As a matter of fact, nowadays in performance psychology, in the literature, we see now more and more words such as facilitating or debilitating. So now it's no more enhancing, or it's detrimental, or it's just a little bit facilitating. So they're being more careful now in how to express what really we can do. So is it that clear? So another question is, so what is it that we do? And there is the well-known in sports psychology, the psychological skills training package, okay? And it's more or less the by default training. It's almost like a template that many sports psychologists do, especially if they don't have much time to meet with the athletes, if they see them once every month or every 2 months. So usually there is an assessment. So what is the problem? Oh, this, that, because my attention, something's not going, all right. So there is an assessment, and then we move to, let's set a goal. So by when do you want to improve? By next month. Oof, I'm afraid maybe this is going to take 3 months. Let's set different goals. So you plan goals, and then you work on different strategies. Some of the strategies that are commonly used obviously have to do with cognition, with the brain. Self-talk, because self-talk is a very important psychological skill, because language is part of what makes us human. Okay, so it's hugely important. And keywords, when we consciously tell ourselves to do something in one word, this is processed in the frontal lobe of the brain, which is responsible for planning behavior. So if I set myself a goal, which already makes me think of where I'm going, if I put it together with a keyword that can help me to perform, or helps me to calm down, or helps me to focus my attention, it is easier that my body will follow, and that I will pay attention in a better way. So self-talk is very interesting psychological strategy. Attention is attention, and attention sometimes. I had an issue with an athlete last year in the World Championships, because in the warm-up area, people are talking. You know, you're warming up, maybe you're trying to throw, but people are talking in different languages. It's the World Championships, and they don't care. And if they can disturb you, they will do it. So they'll be with the phone, but somebody's throwing. And then the athlete was getting really, really angry. So how did I manage? I said, look, you need to pay attention, yes? Yes. What does it mean to pay attention? Because we've obviously gone over that in the academy. He said, to pay attention is to focus on the right stimulus, on the right thing. Okay? Yes. And what else? That's only 50% of the definition. There is the other 50%. No, but I used to focus my attention, this and that. The other 50% is to ignore irrelevant stimuli. If that guy is on the phone and the other guy is shouting in German, you need to be able to ignore it. Okay, all right. Just simple explanations sometimes make people, something clicks. It's like, why was I worrying? Now I have a better understanding of how to pay attention. And okay, if you can have performance psychology next to you, that sometimes does the trick, does the magic, only because we've been working for a whole year, not because that moment I can do, with the magic wand. But attention is a very important skill. It's a very important skill. Also because on stage, with stage fright and all of that, which I will talk a little bit about later, one of the problems with anxiety is that attention narrows down. So when I need the most attention, because of the stress, it narrows down. It's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. So, but anyway, we can dedicate a whole seminar on this, any of these variables, attention, self-talk. They're all very interesting. Anxiety management, obviously, because most people suffer from some form of anxiety, and there are some differences between music and sport, which I will explain in a few minutes. There are some strategies. They don't always work. But sometimes, as I say, the fact that you know that there is something you can do is like a toolkit that makes you feel a little bit safer, only a little bit safer. And there will always be some form of anxiety. We cannot make it disappear. We can manage it, okay? We can manage it. Imagery, visualization and hearing and feeling, and a very important skill, because we know better performers, they can imagine themselves performing better than others. Okay? How do we do that? We do that with some sensors attached on the forearms, and then we can see that even if they don't move their hands, absolutely not moving their hands, if they close their eyes and they try to imagine themselves playing, there is the same form of electric activity in the muscles as if he or she was playing. And it's exactly the same with athletes. It's incredible how they do it. But we know they can imagine better. And we don't only imagine visualizing, we imagine with all senses. Swimmers, they imagine smelling the chlorine or the water, because that brings them to the actual experience. Okay? It's a very interesting skill, imagery, very interesting. Arousal regulation, how activated I am. Am I falling asleep before performing? Am I, too activated, too tense, too tight? So, and then self-confidence. Self-confidence, I put an arrow on goal setting and self-confidence because to me, they're two of the most important things we need to work on. Goal setting leads the way, gives me direction, and guides behavior, very important. And self-confidence is the most important psychological variable before performing, self-confidence. The problem is how to get the optimum level of confidence. You don't want to be overconfident because that can be problematic because it doesn't match your skills realistically, how good you are, or being underconfident. But if you're confident enough, this is great, okay? We can dedicate a seminar to self-confidence, okay? It's a very interesting skill. And ultimately, what a sports psychologist or a performance psychologist will say is all this package, all these things we do, what we want to be able to do is to self-regulate. Self-regulate is a really famous term right now. It's like self-regulate is that I become independent, autonomous, and I can manage myself, which is great, But you can only achieve this after years of training in many cases. Okay, so this is more or less some of the things we do. Okay, not everything, but if you ever read a book on sport psychology, something similar, you'll see one chapter dedicated to goal setting, another chapter dedicated to self-talk, and all of that. Very, very common. So, music and sport. Okay, music and sport. There are many similarities, but in sport, athletes suffer from pre-performance anxiety. Okay, not all of them, but some of them. In music, yes, but also, unfortunately, because it makes it even a little bit harder for you guys, stage fright is a form of social anxiety. Social anxiety is stimulated by performing or behaving in front of other people and by anticipating the negative evaluation that may result. Now, the only thing that can compare in sport to this form of social anxiety is gymnastics or synchronized swimming. Why? Why? Have you ever thought, why? Why would it be similar? Because? Yes, is solo, but there is something else. How are they, Archie?
Artistic interpretation?
Yes. The evaluation, the officials, the umpires, they dictate the final result. So if you're a gymnast, you don't score. It's not like if you long jump 8 meters, it is 8 meters. There's no discussion about it. But if you're a gymnast and you're performing, are you from Russia, Romania, or where are you from? That already affects the decision making of the officials. It's being studied, it's being proven. And also, your coach might think that you've done extraordinarily well, it's been an amazing routine, yet you may get low score. It's subjectivity. Subjectivity is human, and that's the problem. Because when you play, this is not maths. This is subjective. Some people may like it more than others. And that anticipation to be assessed or evaluated by humans, not the stopwatch, creates a different form of anxiety, social anxiety. Okay? What happens normally, and not to everyone, some people are happy to perform. I say that's the gift, they are gifted. When they tell me, no, I'm happy to compete, I love it, man, you're gifted, you're so lucky, because a lot of people struggle. But 3 things tend to happen with the social anxiety. First, it's self-critical automatic thoughts. Oh, well, I'm not rehearsing so well lately, I'm not practicing, I'm not sure. So you start to doubt with the self-talk, again, self-talk, negative, fear of social evaluation. Oh, well, there is someone there who's very knowledgeable and he's going to think that I'm not playing that well. And third, negative interpretation of the event. And this one is crucial. That means performing on stage becomes a threat. And we know in sports psychology that champions appraise the performance or the performing environment as a challenge. Non-champions appraise it as a threat. So this is the difference. So before you come on the stage, if for you the environment is very threatening and you think, this is going to be, we'll see, I'm not sure I'm going to pull this because this is a threat. This can hinder your performance. Some people will come on stage and will say, I'm here to show these people what I can do. And if I mess up, I'm human. So let's keep on playing. This is my challenge, and I will show what I can do. It's a different approach. One is the champion approach. The latter is the champion approach. The other one is we need to work on that. Okay? Of course, everybody has self-doubt. Of course. Everyone. I was saying yesterday in Rio, some athlete called me from the track, I was in Spain, 4 in the morning, watching athletics. Somebody calls me, oh, but that person was there. Hi, I'm going. Okay, go. You're ready? Yes, I'm ready. Go. So people are always, they feel just the need to, just to check. Go. Bronze medalist that day anyway. So everyone, even super talents, everyone, you know, because we're human, so we always have some small weakness. So music versus sport, we spoke a little bit about imagery, and imagery is very much used. By the way, this is not my opinion, this is research. This comes from research. In sport, imagery, they use it very much. It's very much used. But when they've surveyed high-level musicians, only 50% of them use it. So I think this is one skill that can be implemented in music, no doubt, no doubt. It takes time, it takes training, but it's something that maybe can be looked at in music. And then social skills. Track and field athletes, only 37.5% they think it's important. If I run, I run. I don't care if they like me or they don't like me, or if I look good or if I don't look good. But in music, it's turning out that social skills seems to be very important. And they've carried out interviews with pianists and violinists and at high level. And all of them, most of them, in the interviews that then have been studied by psychologists, they all say, actually, networking is very important, getting to know the right person, adapting to a new environment. Now you are in Dublin, it's good to talk to people and not to isolate yourself, you know, get out of your comfort zone. All of those, they say, is a very important skill. And it is something that in sport, not so much. So you're being very brave to be here in Dublin, to travel and you know, to get out, because experts in your field are telling us it's important. Okay? Lesson 3. Okay? What have we learned? And I want to keep it simple, really. I want to get to the point so that you can remember things. Okay? What have we learned from a psychological point of view in sport and in music? Because 75% of the things coincide. 75% of the skills that musicians and sportsmen use are similar, if not the same. What have we learned? There are some key psychological characteristics to develop excellence in music. Okay? Now, let's talk about development, because you're developing. Okay? I think you're developing. You're still developing, and you have room for improving for sure. The problem with development is that this is what comes to my mind. If I see development, I am in point A, and I want to reach point B. Beautiful blue line, straight, going up, amazing. It's just a matter of 3 years. Then I'll be amazing. It's very easy. Reality is very different. Reality is very different. One of the researchers is telling us that the challenges of each stage of development, though critical, appear less significant than the challenges associated with the transitions between stages. So the development is going to be a roller coaster, which hopefully it will continue to go upwards in the end, but there are critical stages. And we would think before we enter music school, wow, when I am in music school, it's going to be so hard, it's going to be really, it's going to have to work very hard, this and that. And actually, they're telling us that the critical part is to transfer from where I am today to music school, or to finish music school and go out in the job market and find my way. You know, so these periods are very critical, and it's exactly the same in sport. That's when people drop out, that's when people get injured, that's when people cannot cope. And just yesterday someone was telling me, one of the students was telling me, well, at the moment I'm having issues, you know, because blah, 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 I'm trying to improve, but I cannot, and this and that and that and that. And I said, yeah, but, okay, what is the situation right now? What is the context? Well, actually now I'm changing, I'm moving to another country, I'm starting music school, I'm moving, and I said, this is different. You have a lot of things affecting you, because everything is affecting us. Even though we think they're irrelevant, everything affects us. So please remember that the challenge will be most likely when you're changing environment, when your career, you need to move a step ahead, a step forward, okay? And they're telling us many, many things. Some musicians, they've said, yeah, I was so happy to be in music school, but then I didn't realize that I had to cook, clean, part-time job, rehearse, study. It was terrible. It was much better in high school. This is a torture. It's so difficult, you know. So some of the interviews that I have read, and it's really, really, really challenging. So you need to be very prepared for this. But that's what development is all about, okay? So some typical psychological characteristics from all of those in red apply to sport and music, okay? And the last one, which is social skills, applies to music more than in sport. So everything is pretty much the same, okay? So goal setting. For me, goal setting, I said it before, the people who strive, the people who achieve, the people who reach, the people who make it, they have clear goals. They know where they're going, they know what they're doing today, they know what they're doing tomorrow, next week, next month. They know where they're going to be next year. They plan it. It drives behavior, it focuses attention, it channels energy, it saves energy, it promotes effort, it gives you so much. And I don't know if you do it in music. I believe most people don't do it, but in sport, first day in September, let's say September when the season starts, first thing is to plan goals. What are we doing? Today, next week, the following week, and then you need to do that for next year. Where do I want to be next year? It's not enough to say, I want to be a good piano player one day. You're not going to get very far, most likely. You need to know where you want to be next year, how you're going to do it, and focus on the outcome, which is to hopefully excel in what you do, but also on the process. And these are two very different things. Because in sport we know that focusing only on the outcome leads to injury, burnout, because sometimes the outcome doesn't come easily, or you need to wait very long. As opposed to the people who focus on the process. The process is, how can I improve? What should I focus on? How can I learn this better? And this promotes intrinsic motivation, is the motivation that comes from inside. I want this because I really want it, not because my father is telling me I want you to be a piano player. And this makes you persevere longer, and it makes you happier, okay? And healthier. You'll remain healthier because you're learning. You're feeling better because you're learning. And then the outcome comes, okay? So process goals, very, very important to achieve outcome, okay? Realistic performance evaluation, and this has to do with feedback. Especially in music, sometimes it's hard to take criticism or feedback. But actually, the people who reach excellence, they're telling us you need to be very objective, and you need to be very realistic, and you need to take feedback in an objective manner and focus on how to improve, because it's one of the ways to improve. So realistic performance evaluation, we can leave the ego aside sometimes, and then we can say, hey, I need to focus on this, I need to work on this, okay? Imagery, as we discussed before, for us, the way we defined imagery is that there is a functional equivalence between what we do with the body and how we imagine the movement. So if I can imagine it very well, it can help me to actually perform the movement. Okay? Commitment, for sure. And as I said yesterday to the young pianists here, sometimes I ask my athletes, when I see that something is not right, I ask them, how much do you want this? And then, well, from 0 to 10, how much do you want this? 7? Well, you're in the wrong place. Okay, you can do keep fit and do that, but you're never gonna reach. No way. You need to be 11 over 10 or 12 over 10. You need to want it. You need to be committed. Only determined, committed people will reach excellence. Okay. Quality practice. Quality practice is very important. What I have seen in sport is that world-class coaches will not allow athletes not to perform at their best anytime. Whatever they do from warm-up needs to be, I'm not saying perfect, but the best they can be. So it's almost like bridging the gap between your real potential and what you do. So quality practice is needed to achieve consistency. Because if I play very well today, but next week I can't play very well and I don't know why, and then something is wrong. We need to work very, very hard every single day so that we close the gap and I can reach my maximum potential. I don't know if you remember this American athlete, Carl Lewis. Carl Lewis was telling us when he visited us in Qatar, he said, I asked him one question. I said, Carl, you won so many Olympic medals and everything. Were you not worried, at the track that something would go wrong or, you would not be able to do as you did in training? And he said, never. Never. Why not? He said, you know why? Because every single training session, we did it so well and we worked with so much quality that the day of the competition, I just need to do the same. It was so well rehearsed. We paid attention to every single detail. I was not worried. And that's a sign of self-confidence. Because when you're doing things right here, when you're rehearsing, practicing, then your self-confidence is going to come up if you're doing it well. Okay? So quality practice is very important, especially when you're developing. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Every single minute counts. Coping with pressure, we know that the people who reach the top, they can manage stress better. They do it. And sometimes I don't know how they do it, to be honest. I teach them, they learn certain skills, but sometimes I'm thinking, this guy was born for this, I don't know, it's in a way, it's sometimes, but then I also want to believe, but he's learned a few things, or she, that it's helping her, So it's a combination of both. But coping with pressure, because I have seen with Formula One drivers, these guys, they risk their lives at 300 kilometers an hour. These guys make a mistake, they get killed. And I have seen these guys in a laboratory situation where under pressure, they deliver. They don't make mistakes. So there is something they do that is amazing. Motivation. Motivation is the engine, okay? Motivation is, this is a must. We don't even talk about it, Motivation. Even though motivation is a huge field in sports psychology, okay? The best way of motivating yourself, the best source of motivation is intrinsic. I do it because I want, okay? Because there are young athletes, young musicians that are encouraged by the parents to do something, and maybe, we need to ask them as well. Do you want to do it? Do you want to play? Do you want to? Okay, need to be gentle. And social skills, as we discussed before. Okay, so these are some psychological characteristics that we know they're very helpful. But nowadays, and this is what Archie was maybe referring to when I will give you the latest. I always like to give the latest. What's out there? Some definitions are really intriguing. For example, this one he says, experts are exceptional, motivated individuals who take advantage of environmental factors that are associated with skill development. Environmental factors. I mean, 30 years ago, nobody would think about the environment. They would think about your talent, your ability, this and that. Environment seems to be important. So, following this, there seem to be now not only some characteristics or skills, now they're beginning to, the terminology is shifting, and now it's more about psychobehavioral factors. And what is this? It's very simple. Psycho is thinking, and behavior is behavior, how I behave. So there is something in the way experts think and how they behave, what they do in their lives, in their environment, that make them better. So, and I'm going to tell you what it is, okay? Or at least what we think it is. First thing is goal-directed behavior and commitment. As I said before, it's not only about setting goals. Whatever we do is for a purpose. No time wasting, no taking chances. This is, I'm doing this, and it's going to happen, and I will do it next month. So very clear, very specific, timely. You need to know what you're looking for, and this is almost a way of living. Everything I do because I want to reach a high level. So, and commitment. So not only I say I want to do it, but I will do it. So goal-directed behavior and commitment is one of the psychobehavior, is one of the approaches, is how they approach their life to be very good. Okay? Do you understand? It's clear? Yeah? The second one is engagement in problem-focused coping behaviors. So many times we find problems. Oh, I need to improve my left hand on the keyboard, and we can spend 2 years waiting. Problem-focused coping behavior. I have a problem. I want to improve the problem. How do I solve the problem? Where is the guy who can teach me to improve my left hand? I'm going. So everything we do for a purpose, focused on the problem. We need to resolve the problem. One of the skills that I have learned the most from world-class coaches who have athletes with world records, and you cannot imagine how they do it. These people, they solve problems every day because the athlete has small pain, because the train came late and we lost the train and we lost the journey and then we have to book another and this and that. These people are capable of just resolving the problem in a way that I'm sometimes like, my God, that's amazing. So this is a way of living to improve. Okay? First of all, you need to define the problem. Okay? Problem solving in itself is a huge topic in psychology. But you sit down with the teacher, I want to solve this. How? When? Who? How much is going to cost? Let's do it. Okay? And the last one is something that social support seeking. This is something that social support seeking and learning from feedback, as we said before. But social support seeking, when you start to play music, usually your children, and the first source of support is the parents. And the parents are very important. In psychology, we know that we learn to manage stress. How we have learned from childhood seeing our parents dealing with stress. Implicitly, we are learning that my mom, my dad, they were dealing with this situation. Yeah, I may be playing around, and I may be 6, but I see my mom on the phone and she's solving a problem and she's calm, as opposed to someone who's just panicking. And so the social support and the pathway to develop properly is very important. The first teacher is very important. The teacher in high school. I always say, because sometimes in football they're trying to discover how to make the players think better on the pitch. And I always say, and they get very disappointed, the coaches, I always say the most important coach is the one working with the kids. because it's the one who can develop creativity, because children are very flexible, they're still developing their brains. When you have a 23-year-old football player, it's too late. It's too late. The brain is fully formed, the brain connections are fully formed, and if you've trained all your life in a very specific routine manner, you're not going to be very creative. I'm not sure what it is like in music, but perhaps the social support you get from childhood, from school, and how they teach you music, the passion for music, apart from the skill, so that you get intrinsically motivated to continue and attending healthy auditions, and healthy with not too much pressure, but some pressure, and there's ongoing support from parents, and then your partner, and then teacher, and then more teachers, professors, is very important. Is very important. Okay, so social support is very important. And learning from feedback, as we discussed before, is also crucial. Okay? So these are the three things that if you can, I don't know if you can remember, but you can remember maybe a couple of them, a couple of things that you, okay, this is very important. And when you have a problem, I need to resolve it. Don't wait. Don't wait. Resolve it. What I wanted to discuss, basically, and get straight to the point on these three topics and these three lessons that we've learned: the concept of performance psychology. The second one, what can it do for you? What is the typical psychological skills training package, and some of the skills we can work on, and some of the key psychological characteristics or psycho-behavioral, because this is what there is. There is nothing else. There is nothing else. I've not seen anything else that works. They can sell you the moon, do this, do that, don't worry, in 2 weeks you'll be amazing. No way. No way. And but this is worthwhile knowing because it applies to music. This is what we're learning as well. So, what now? What now? Guys, set process-orientated goals. Whatever you do tomorrow, how, what, who, when, commit to them. Go until the end. Always positive. Always positive. This is another characteristic that we can add. To be a good one, to be at that level, people are positive. They believe it's possible. They have a positive attitude. Seek problem-focused solutions. Rationalize your fears. Okay? I was explaining someone yesterday. When I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable because I have to perform next week or I'll go on stage, obviously emotions are going to override thinking back and forth, and it's not going to help. So rationalizing fears, if there is fear, is important. Hang on, I'm worried, yes, because I'm performing next week, yes. Should I be worried? To a certain extent. But am I going to die? No, I'm not going to die. So is it that bad? It's not that bad. Do other people think the way I do? Yes, a lot of people, you cannot imagine. So should I be worrying now? Maybe I should be reading a book and doing something else. You've rationalized your thinking. It's not magic, but it helps you to move forward, okay? And enhance your confidence. Enhance your confidence, but not overconfident, just confident enough. Sometimes I can tell you, just looking at one athlete and hearing him or her saying something to me before they go to compete, I already know how they're going to perform. If I see someone coming and sitting here and saying, no, it's okay, don't move it, I'm all right, I'm fine. It's already looking good. You know, it's already looking good. And this is part of what we call the pre-performance routine. It's something I do before I play or before I perform that already organizes my thinking, my emotions, guides my behavior, and a right level of confidence is almost like calms me down, you know. It's almost like it's okay. I've been working very hard for this. Let's do it. And speaking about working hard, for me this is the key. After all, this is the key. And if it was 30 years ago, perhaps we would be talking about the relevance of the snapshots and do an audition when you're 5, and if you have talent when you're 5, you're going to make it. That's it, you've got the talent. That's not the point today. Today, the point is more, there is something, you have some skill, but work hard, man. Work hard, take your time, and then it will happen. Okay? That's development. When will it happen? We don't know. We don't know. Do you know when you're going to reach your best performance ever? We don't know. That's why we need to focus on what we are doing here and now. Okay? And about working hard, when you see this, athletes, they're crying because they won a medal, and this is where everyone has seen someone crying and everything. And then what comes to your mind can be, wow, they're very happy. And I say, no, they're not happy. They're crying because they have suffered a lot. It's been very hard. And not just because she finished the race. They have suffered a lot. Some people get injured. They spend 2 years injured. They lose their scholarships. They have to go work. They have to train at night. It's really, really painful. They break up with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and the people do struggle. You cannot imagine. But the people who believe and the people who continue fighting and pushing, and they come back and they make it. They make it. And that's why many of them cry. They're not happy. They've suffered a lot. Of course they're happy. But, okay. So, at the end of the day, as I say, always, playing the piano is wonderful. And you can always have the luxury of playing the piano. I cannot. So you're very lucky. Okay? So thank you very much. This is all I wanted to say. If anyone wants to take note of my email address, I don't know if you can see it, it's at the bottom. If you ever need to, if you want to drop me an email and asking me about something that is bothering you, so I'm always happy to reply. Okay, and to at least give my opinion. I mean, nothing, but. So, does anybody have any question, anything that you may be thinking, or anything?
Just in relation to hypnosis.
To this, sorry?
Hypnosis. So, like kind of guided meditations or mindfulness or imagery, stuff like that. That'd be something that would be strong with your athletes that you've seen.
Yes, that falls under the stress management and all of that, like mindfulness and relaxation techniques. Yes, this is very important. This is very important. Now everyone is different. Everyone is different. So for me, the best way is to know the athlete, so that I know or I learn what can be beneficial to that athlete. And some people welcome mindfulness. Some people welcome breathing techniques. Some people we do progressive relaxation with them, which is basically tensing and relaxing muscle groups. Some people just enjoy listening to light music and lie down for 15 minutes. Everyone is different. Some people, they come to the sessions and they fall asleep, but still that works because they were really anxious, and then after 15-20 minutes they feel better. So, but all these things are very important. Mindfulness is something now that has emerged and is very relevant. Actually, everything that has to do with relaxation, focusing at the present moment and without judging or anticipating what the future will bring and all of that. This comes from the East, from China and all that. Thousands of years ago they were with the Buddhism and the meditation and all of that. The bottom line here is that we live too fast and we're always looking for the future. What's going to happen tomorrow? And if it doesn't happen, what will happen to me? And always the fear that if it doesn't go right, it will cause harm to me. So mindfulness, what it's telling us is that focus at the present moment. Don't judge, because we're always judging. Is it right, wrong, good, bad? We can't live like that all the time. You need to also sit down or lie down and just enjoy the moment. And some people can do it. Some people can even do it before they perform. they're calm, they're just waiting, and they're breathing, they're relaxed, they're focused, but they've learned to manage. But absolutely, it's a very important thing. Yeah, it's a very good question. Any other question over there?
One of the biggest differences between elite athletes and elite musicians is that most elite athletes will have coaches that work with them all the time through their practicing and their, until the moment of the race on all of this. But most of these elite musicians, at least in the past, would never have had somebody as part of their team that does this. I am now noticing more friends of mine who are engaging professionals to work with them in this way prior to winning big auditions or having competitions. Is this something that you are seeing in your field, that more musicians are asking for this type of professional support, or is it not something that you're starting to notice?
Yeah, this is very important because as we explained before, social support seeking has to do with teachers as well. And what musicians who have reached a very good level internationally, and what they're saying is that absolutely yes, the teacher is very important, and you need to work together with the teacher, is the one, with a knowledgeable one, obviously, with the right one.
Most elite teachers in music are not trained in the sports psychology or the performance psychology aspect. So I actually mean a professional performance psychologist. That I am now seeing people who have been very advanced in their training in music start to actually seek out support from somebody who's not their main teacher, but to start to build this team.
Yes, exactly. This is replicating what's been happening in sport. In sport, historically speaking, was the athlete, the coach, and the medical doctor. And then there was the physiotherapist. And then there was the strength and conditioning. So the team has been expanding. And then there was the physiologist, the one who would tell you how your heart is working and how well you recover and everything. And then the nutritionist. And then the sport psychologist. So it's a family with so many people around you. But if the athlete or the player is intelligent and he or she can take the best out of this team, for sure he or she will be in a better way. One of the concepts that made the British Olympic team so successful in London was the fact that they created a new concept which was marginal gains. Marginal gains means that what is it that is very small that we can provide the athlete so that it can make him better? Sometimes it was just to bring the pillow from home to the hotel so that she could sleep better. Better sleep, better recovery, next day, better performance or more ready. So all these small details, sometimes I find coaches, if they're having a bad day or they don't know how to deal with something that is going on with the athlete, they just ask me, can you deal with it? Because then I know the situation. And then from my side, I can pass the message, which is the same message, but in a different way, to the athlete. And sometimes that just makes the environment better. In particular in sport, sometimes we travel for 1 month, 7 weeks. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, training, you almost like you kill each other after a few weeks. It's difficult. So I think in music, music is a more historical, traditional field compared to sport. I think sport has evolved more, perhaps, in terms of the support, the science, the technology, for some reason. But I think it's very important. I think if one musician can benefit from one tip, just one tip, but it is the right tip by a performance psychologist at the right time, sometimes that can change things, as I said before, with the level. It can just facilitate a better performance.
I'm wondering if there's psychological differences between sport and music in the sense that sports is like a direct, well, you can like disagree or agree, but sports is like a kind of a direct competition, like you versus another team or you versus other individuals. But music, like unless you're actually in a competition or something, like something that's always like a phrase that's always said is it's not a competition, it's just about communicating and expressing your art and being vulnerable and doing your best. Like, are there different, do those, or does that create a psychological difference, do you think, between sports and?
To be honest, I don't know. I think music is more an art. To me, my father is a painter. He's an artist. He's well known in Spain. So painting is an art. But to me, music is an art. Sport is culture. It can be considered an art as well, don't get me wrong. Ice skating, I mean, come on. And these, maybe, the performers, they must have some differences. There must be some differences. As I said, for me, what I'm clear about is that you are super athletes, and what you do is very difficult. And, okay, to be a famous footballer is also very difficult because there are millions of kids out there trying to achieve. But comparing is never right, you know, I shouldn't do that. But for me, what you do is extraordinary. So there must be something different in you guys. This is my opinion. So I'm going to be around today as well, and if you have any question or any other thing that you think, you know, you can ask me. I'm always very happy to talk about this because I'm passionate about this. And for me, this is the priority. Whatever you do, do it with passion. Is the bottom line. Okay? So thank you very much for having me here. Thank you.